In December of 2021, Security Breach was released to the world, and the reception was...
Oh, wow.
So after being the reason for family-friendly horror, a DLC was announced for 2023 that hoped to change the mindset of their player base. That was kinda messed up with the release of Security Breach. Ruin came out in July and was met with high praise from fans new and old. Previous fans stayed and became more invested, and more people became part of their community just because of how good the game was. From the setting to the jump scares, everything was improved. On the other side of the table, there was a little game called PoppyPlaytime that was also released in 2021. The first game was no more than a tech demo, but took the internet by storm, and was also the victim to a lot of controversy, and also a little something called too much merch. So then, a second game was released in hopes of turning the public's view on them, but then they tripped and fell into more controversy. So, another DLC was announced for 2023, hoping to finally change the public's perception of them. Then, in later 2023, PoppyPlaytime Chapter 3 got delayed. But then it came out in January of 2024, and was also met with very high praise. Fans new and old were praising this game. Previous fans stayed, and more people became a part of the community just based on how good this game was. From the settings to the jump scares, everything was improved. Now, did it sound like I've just said the same thing about both of these games' DLCs? It should, because I just did. Both these games' DLCs seem to be stepping in a new direction from the previous game before them. Both were released in the same year, oh, at least supposed to, and both were the highest praise the franchises have seen yet, and both were eerily similar. But the question is, which game is better, Security Breach Ruin or PoppyPlaytime Chapter 3? And which game was successful in gaining back their player base? I'm Ride or Die, and today we're taking a look at the rise and dies of each game to find out which is better, and which is more successful with getting people's attention on the franchise once again. Now, before I talk about which ones are better, I better talk about what happens in these games so I can explain which one is better. I'll be short with this one. Starting off with Security Breach Ruin, you play as a little girl named Cassie, who is Gregory's best friend. She has come back to the Pizzaplex that is now destroyed by an earthquake. She came back because totally Gregory tells her that...
Help! Something grabbed me! You won't let me go!
Oh no, Cassie, his foot. Gotta go down there to find him. You venture through deeper and deeper into the Pizzaplex, searching for totally Gregory along the way. And then this guy jump scares you. He gives you a mask that was worn by the villain of Security Breach, and when you wear this, you become immersed in some type of augmented reality, where you can just walk through barriers, which I don't really think that's how VR works, but okay. Also, when you wear the mask for too long, this bunny dude shows up, and he's like the security system for the mask, and will send an animatronic to you to jump scare you if you don't take it off in time. And there are some new puzzles, and once you make it through many monsters, you will then see Sun and Moon again. I love these guys, they're my favorite. You reboot Sun and Moon, and then he becomes Eclipse. I also love Eclipse. Once you get past Chica and fix her, but then have to shut her down, you then find Roxy, who seems to have trauma from Gregory. But she's nice to us, not Freddy. After that, you have to turn off the final security measure to help Gregory escape. That last one is Roxy.
I'm sure your friends will show up this time.
It's a pretty heartbreaking scene, but I mustn't cry. Once this happens, you get rid of the stalker and then break the cement wall to find... Oh,
You're not Gregory.
Gregory was never here. It was actually this guy, the Mimic, because he can mimic voices. Very clever. We'll get back to him later. So, he chases you, and then you escape him, only for the real Gregory to show up and then send you plunging down in an elevator. Now, let's go over PoppyPlaytime Chapter 3. You come back after surviving the crane crash and are thrown into a garbage chute by your boy Catnap. Then you make your way to a phone and find who's calling, and it's a boy named Ollie, who is 1,000 times better than having PoppyPlaytime as our side character. He's our tour guide for the chapter, and we eventually descend further into the factory, into Playcare. Our goal for this chapter is that we are trying to discover what really happened here by diverting the red smoke so we can explore deeper into the factory. But then some bozo turns off the power, and the rest of the chapter is us going through different sections of Playcare, trying to turn the power back on. First is Home Sweet Home. You end up having a nightmare sequence and thumpy dumpy jump scares you. Next is a school, where the person that haunts my nightmares and also made me rage quit the game is here, Miss Delight. The last teacher at the schoolhouse, who has gone clinically insane, is out for blood, and also forgot that she can move when people look at her. Next is the Playhouse, which is one of my favorites, where we get a Glock to shoot at these guys. This was so fun. Also, we find Dog Day, who's a whole sob story. Oh no. Once we escape the playhouse, the last facility is the counselor's office, and Catnap stalks us the whole time. In the end, we attempt to turn back on the power, and we end up battling Nightmare Catnap in an ending-like security breach, except done way better.
Oh, no.
Once Jesus himself takes the purple gassy monster away, we then meet with Poppy and Kissy, who we then go down in the elevator with. But then Kissy gets attacked and her finger slipped and she closes the elevator on us. Alright, so now that you know what happens in these games, I'm going to talk about what each game did well. Because both games are similar, I'll just group them together. If you like what you are watching, please do like and subscribe. That would definitely help me out. And comment down your thoughts. What do you prefer? Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 or FNAF Ruin? I don't like to waste time during this part of the video, so let's just move on. Both games really nail their atmosphere. These games definitely fixed a lot of the issues the previous installments had before them, such as the game actually being scary, not having characters yap all the time, and fixing bugs, although this is definitely more prominent in Security Breach. But both also immensely improved their graphics, and both of these games really nail their characters, my favorites being Eclipse from Ruin and Catnap from Poppy Playtime. The endings for both are also pretty well done, as they defy expectations with the ending battle, such as Ruin doesn't have you stuck in a room fending off the enemies like in the previous installment, but instead goes for a chase scene with winding paths. Poppy Playtime also defies expectations with the ending scene by not doing a chase scene with winding paths, but instead a boss battle when where you're stuck in a room fending off an enemy. Wait a second. Overall, all of these games did so many things better over their previous installments, and all of these took risks in horror. But which did better? Ruin was definitely more terrifying, but it was lacking in taking more risks with its story, besides its emotional beats, especially with the bond between Cassie and Roxy. That was really good. The only risk it really took besides that was adding in characters from the FNAF books, which we'll get to in a minute. And Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, on the other hand, showed a crucified toy that gets eaten alive and puppeteered from the inside. This is truly one of the most terrifying scenes in all of mascot horror that I've ever witnessed, and they didn't stop there. They showed the hour of joy front and center. They showed all the murder and massacre that happened. That was probably one of the biggest steps they have ever taken for this franchise, and was definitely the craziest moment I have ever seen. And in turn for ambition and horror, I think Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 definitely takes the cake for being an amazing horror game. And I'm not saying that because my channel is more about Poppy Playtime and I've only played Security Breach and Ruin once. I genuinely think that Poppy Chapter 3 is better at being a horror game. So, that leaves us with the question: which one redeemed themselves in the light of their fans? Poppy Playtime or FNAF? Well, Ruin was met with astounding praise from people all over, and it was actually a pretty fun game to play, but some of the fans were confused with what happened in the game. Ruin just didn't really answer anything from Security Breach. Meanwhile, Poppy Playtime confirmed what happened to the orphans, confirmed that 1006 is pulling the strings, confirmed Catnap worshipped him like Jesus, and confirmed what happened in the Hour of Joy. While it also introduced us new things and new questions without answering them, there were enough crumbs to figure out most of the sandwich. Meanwhile, with Ruin, there were too many crumbs that didn't even fit to a sandwich. Ruin left people with more questions than answers. Where was Burntrap? What's with Freddy? Where's the Blob? What happened to Vanny? Where's Gregory? What is up with this VR world? And why is the Mimic here? We should probably talk about the Mimic in the room. So, if you probably don't know who the Mimic is, you're not alone. I had no clue what this guy was when I first saw him until I looked it up. And it turns out, this little sucker's from the books. Yes, the FNAF books that have like 24 installments. It was introduced in the Tales of the Pizzaplex books that I'm sure most of you didn't read, and I did not read it. This confused many fans and left them puzzling, as most have not read the books. Also, in the end with Gregory in the elevator, they weren't even sure if that was Gregory because of the mimic, and like also he sends us plunging into abyss, and then we hear Roxy, but we're not sure if it's her because the mimic can mimic voices, so it's probably just the mimic. So the mimic being a character in Security Breach definitely added tons of questions. So there you have it. I think between these two games, competing and trying to earn back their fan bases and being an amazing game, Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 comes out on top. While I believe it was a super close tie, and there was definitely care and heart put into both games, one game defied all obstacles and rose to fame. Please don't burn me at the stake for saying that Poppy Playtime is better than FNAF, but that's all from me. Ciao for now.